Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ogbanje Joseph. Please hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. Like and share this video as well. Today, we are going to be talking about the meaning of international relations. The meaning of international relations. Okay, so before I go ahead, I would like to demystify the concept of international relations, okay, and do what is known as word attack. Okay, so I'm going to separate, the prefix from the suffix. So I will start with international, and then I'll come back to relations, and then merge the two together. Okay, so the first thing first is to look at the word international. What is the meaning of international? International is actually gotten from two words. Okay, we have the prefix, which is inter, and then we have the suffix, which is national. The root word there is nation. The root word there is nation. The root word is also the buzzword. It's also the cross word. Okay, so what is inter? Inter is anything between two or more people. When you have an issue, or when you have interaction existing between two or more people, what you have is actually what is known as interrelation. Okay, so that is inter. Inter is anything between two or more people, country, and all of that. Okay, that is inter. That is the prefix inter. Then we have national. But before we go into national, let us even look at the concept of nation. The concept of nation. Now, nation simply means, okay, a group of people, okay, a group of people with common identity, common history, and common culture, okay, and tradition. Now, the word nation can be looked at from two perspectives. We have the racial perspective and the political perspective. The racial perspective is when you are looking at a nation from the definition I just gave. That if you are looking at the people from the perspective of common religion, common language, common culture, common tradition, then you are actually talking about a nation from the racial perspective. Now, you can talk about a nation, or a nation of people that have common progenitor. For example, we have the Hausa nation. They have common language, common tradition, common religion, like that. Hausa language, we have, the Hausa nation, we have the Igala nation, the Igbo nation, the Tiv nation, and all of that. That is looking at nation from the racial perspective. Then you can also look at a nation from the political perspective. That is a people, okay, a people with common government, common territory, common sovereignty. Now, when you have such people, you can actually refer to them as a nation. That is why America is a nation, Ghana is a nation, Nigeria is a nation. So you can look at a nation from two perspectives: racial perspective and political perspective. Then let us look at national now. National, okay, national. Anything that is actually common to a nation is referred to as national. That is why we can say national anthem, national pledge, national, okay, national flag, national monument, national this, national that. Okay, so at the end of the day, anything that is common to a particular nation is referred to as national. Okay, now let us look at international now. International. I've just told you that the word inter simply means between two or more people, nations, states, and all of that. So when you're talking about international, you're talking about, okay, an interaction existing between two or more nations. Okay, anything foreign, anything foreign, anything that has gone external, anything that is between two nations, that thing is actually international. Okay, now let us look at relations. Now, what is relations? The word relations is gotten, okay, is gotten from the buzzword relate. To relate simply means to have an intercourse, to have an affair, to actually have contact, to have dealings with people. Now, when you have dealings with people, what you're doing is what is known as you are relating with such person. So, relationship. Now, the word relationship is gotten from the word relation. Okay, don't also forget that the buzzword is relate. So, relationship, okay, is actually interaction, just like I've just said, interaction existing between two or more people. That is relationship. Now let us look at international relations. Now, what is international relations? International relations can be defined as an interaction or transactions existing between two or more nations. Okay, it is a broad word, it is actually a broader concept that houses other aspects of international interactions or international relations. That is why international relations can be studied as a field, okay, as a discipline in the university, because it is actually a broader concept. Okay, it is a broader concept. Now you have international law. Now international law is embedded in international relations. You have foreign policy, you have international politics, you have you have international economic relations, you have foreign policy. All of these are actually embedded in international relations. It is a buzzword. Now let us go to some scholarly definition of international relations. Let's look at some scholarly definition of international relations. Now, according to Professor Humphrey Asobi, 2003, international relations can be defined as the process of interactions or set of transactions among social groups that are either based on or that originate and operate from different relatively autonomous territorial units. What does that imply? It implies that, okay, it is a process of interaction or set of transactions, process of interaction or set of transactions. So you have to transact, you have to interact, okay, among social groups that are either based on or originate and operate from different relatively autonomous territorial units. What is this autonomous territorial units that he's talking about? Autonomous territorial units are simply countries that have their sovereignty. Okay, then we also have, according to Patig 1968, he defines international relations as the study of the distribution of power on a global scale and the interplay between and among power centers. The interplay between and among power centers. Okay, the distribution of power on a global scale and the interplay between and among power centers. Of course, there are power centers. Don't forget that in international relations, okay, the study there is the study there is actually the interactions existing between power centers, countries, and all of that exist within the international system, how they actually transact and interact with themselves. Okay, so we also have Onmoha 2008, who asserted that international relations is, international relations, okay, is an interaction, okay, is an interaction in which persons from more than one nation, individually and in group, interact with themselves. Okay, now Hans Morgenthau looks at international relations as politics among nations. Okay, so comprehensively, international relations is the totality of interactions existing between and among nations, okay, either government sponsored or not. So when we talk about international relations, it is not just about international relations is not just about government sponsored, okay, government sponsored interactions, or 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 not. Okay, it is both government sponsored interactions and private individuals in interactions existing in the international system. Don't forget that if Nigerian businesses or business concerns go to Ghana to do business, or go to Ghana or go to the US to do business, what exists at that point is international relations, taking place from the private individual perspective or non-state perspectives. Okay, then when an ambassador of Nigeria goes to Ghana, or when Nigeria's president go to Ghana or go to the United States of America, for example, and having some bilateral talks and interactions there, what you have is actually international relations, sponsored by the government. So if it is government sponsored, whether it is government sponsored or not, it is international relations. Nigeria is said to be interacting with, with other countries already. Okay, so when we talk about international relations, we are simply talking about, the totality of interaction or transactions existing between and among countries of the world. Okay, international relations is actually, what is the significance? What is the significance of what is the importance of studying international relations? Okay, now one of the significance or one of the importance of studying international relations is that no nation is an island. Every nation needs one another to actually exist, okay, very well, very comfortably. Okay, no nation is an archipelago. Every nation needs, others to exist. Okay, so that is actually number one important. Of course, now Nigeria is endowed with mineral resources, particularly petroleum, or yes, crude oil or petroleum, as the case may be. Now, other countries like Japan is actually blessed with technology. Okay, so Nigeria needs, Japan needs Nigeria's oil, and Nigeria needs Japan's technology. So on the basis of that, Nigeria, okay, international relations is actually very important. That's number one. Number two is global peace and security. Now, when countries interact with themselves, okay, they look at insecurity as a common problem. Okay, because insecurity to one, because the principle of collective security says, a threat to one nation is a threat to all nations. And so on the basis of that, international relations is actually very important, so that if a nation is weak, other nations can actually support her. Okay, that is number two. Number three is international economic advantage. International economic advantage. Like I said from the beginning, no nation is an island. Okay, but apart from that, you need other nations to actually harness the economic benefits that existed in such countries. Okay, so that's the thing. Then number four, okay, number four number four is um number four is regulating the overbearance of, of the world superpowers. With international relations, okay, the interests of the weaker powers, I'm talking about the third world countries, will actually be well protected, because there will be bilateral and multilateral agreements that will actually ensure that the interest of The third world countries are well protected. They are properly shielded from the overbearing powers, okay, of what? Of the superpowers. That is actually, the next point. The other point is, the stamping out of colonialism and undue interference into a nation's sovereignty. With international relations, or with the advent of multilateral institutions like the United Nations, the African Union, the EU, and all of that, the era of a nation or a powerful nation going into a weaker nation to alienate and dominate her is actually over. Yes, it may be happening, okay, it may be happening underground, but the crass taking over, forceful taking over of a nation and colonizing it, is actually gone. Okay, so that era is gone already. So it is with international relations that all of these are taken care of. Thank you very much.